In the bustling world of business, you're either moving forward or falling behind. Welcome to For Action Takers Only, the podcast and Facebook group where dreams become reality. We're here to fuel your ambition, sharpen your skills, and inspire your entrepreneurial spirit. Dive into the sea of opportunities with our insightful discussions, expert advice, and powerful success stories. From investment strategies to business building tips, we've got it all. Are you ready to take your first step towards your dream life? Join us on this exciting journey, unleash your potential, and watch as your dreams transform into your reality. Remember, inaction is the enemy of progress. So get on the action train with For Action Takers Only. Because the time to act is now and the place to start is here. For those who dare to dream and have the courage to act, the world is their oyster. For Action Takers Only, where dreams meet action. Tune in, take action, and transform your life. Your future self will thank you.
And welcome to For Action Takers Only. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and real estate investors and anyone taking action in their dream life. I'm your host, Todd Kirkhoff. I'm a real estate investor and started this podcast because I wanted to meet other people like me getting into the real estate business. So I hope you like what you see. If you do, please like and subscribe. And shout out to Chris Allen at Peacemaker Coffee Company. I really love that coffee, man. Keep it coming. So today's guest, I got on Errol Ellis. He is a serial entrepreneur, a medical business consultant for 15 plus years. He is an RN or a registered nurse mentor, and he's an investor also. He does many things. So I'm going to bring him on in here. We're going to get his story today and see how he got started doing all this stuff. How's it going, Errol?
Hello, Todd. How are you, man? Thank you for having me here.
Good, man. I'm doing good. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday.
You're welcome.
So what's going on, man? I know we met about a year ago at Power Hour.
Yep. We sure did, man.
So go ahead.
I was flying out to Arizona and I happened to meet some guys at Sub 2 and they're like, "Where you from?" I say, "Houston." I said, "I come out here to get some training." And we were in Arizona. They're like, we meet right there in Houston. We are every Saturday at a group. And I'm like, "What? Tell me when and where." And so from that point, I started going, and that's where we met.
So you flew out to Arizona to get some training for what, Sub 2 or real estate investing or what?
Actually, we come in under Brent Daniels' program.
Okay.
Yeah. TTP, talk to people, wholesaling side.
All right. So are you currently wholesaling? Are you doing any wholesaling?
Anything in real estate that can get the deal done. It could be a wholesale. I've done my first deal that I've done was a Sub 2 deal. So
okay.
It's like whatever, when you talk to the homeowner, what fits that situation, right?
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So are you a member of the Sub 2 community too, or just the TTP?
I'm not, but I associate with those guys because their community is bigger here in the Houston area than the TTP. So I go and network with other real estate investors, get in where you fit in.
Right. All right. Like I said, I met him at Houston Power Hour, and that was I started going because I joined Sub 2 and found that group, met him, and then just started kicking it with a bunch of people there. So tell us your story. What you said you're a serial entrepreneur. You've been an RN or a medical business consultant for 15 years. How did you get started?
I did, and I didn't always start that way. My medical background started years ago in the early 90s, where I was attracted to actual medical. That's where I had my formal training as a paramedic. And I wanted to actually join the fire department, but I could not join the fire department. It was a real close knit. And so I had a bunch of buddies and cousins who were with the police department, the Houston Police Department. And they're like, "Look, get in with the city through the police and just do a lateral over to the fire department." And so I did that. But when I joined HPD, I started to see how the firefighters were getting budget cuts every year. I'm like, "No, I'm going to stay in the police department." We getting raises every year. So, but I still always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I still had that feeling inside of me and felt unfulfilled. And so I said, "You know what? I'm pursue my passion," because I don't want to be a firefighter necessarily. I want to be a paramedic. So I said, you know what? I'm going to open my own EMS company. And I did. And the funny thing is, the way things happen with God, rather than working for the fire department, I had over 30 Houston firefighters working for me. And I loved it. And that's what kind of took me on my entrepreneur journey from that forward, running my EMS business. So I loved it. I did that for about 8 years. It was very successful. We did over 3 million a year, and uh, did a lot of community work, and was able to get involved. And I was young back then, and so it kind of opened my eyes to a lot, man. And from that, I'd say, yes, I want to continue to work for myself.
So how old were you?
I was actually 30 years old at that time. I joined HPD when I was 25. I opened my first company when I was 30 years old. I stayed on with HPD for a few more years just to get the company stable, and I ended up resigning from HPD in 2003.
2003.
2000, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been going strong ever since then, huh?
Ever since then, man. Ever since then, of course, 2008, everybody know what happened, the banks, the real estate market. I ended up selling the EMS business, and I took a year off, and that's when I got into medical consulting in 2009, Quest Managed Healthcare Consultants. So
Okay. And how did that go?
awesome. I'm still going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when you read that I'm a serial entrepreneur. It's not necessarily I'm opening these business for myself, although I have several different companies. But I'm an entrepreneur. I became so passionate about helping people start their businesses. And so I'm a serial entrepreneur in the sense that I help doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, RNs open their medical practice. And I was exposed to early on when I started making money to real estate. And back then in the early 2000s, actually in 2005 is when I first got exposed to real estate. Back then it was called bird dogging.
not
Bird dogging.
wholesale.
I had some gentleman approach me and say, hey, we want you to go bird dog for us. And I was like, what is bird dogging? And they didn't quite tell me, explain it to me. Like, information is so readily available now. Back then, it was something that was new. They just say, hey, we want you to go door knocking, ask people if they're willing to sell their home. And for every home, we'll pay you. Back then, it was like $5,000. And but I passed up that opportunity because I really didn't understand it. And like I said, young, not thinking about the future, and I was making over $3 million a year. I was like, I'm not gonna go door knocking for $5,000,
Right.
and I don't know what I'm doing. But I wish I had jumped into it back then. So here, everything come full circle, and in 2022 is when I really started jumping onto YouTube and researching real estate. And that's how I got into real estate. I found Pace and Jamil and Brent Daniels, and I ended up going with Brent Daniels' program.
Okay. And what made you decide Brent Daniels?
Well, the thing is because going back to the bird dogging, I had somewhat familiarity with it. The sub 2, I didn't watch, many of those videos, but just the appeal of Brent Daniels, and I was attracted to what he was doing, and felt comfortable with him. I've seen many people that were doing it, but it was something about his genuineness, and the concept was easy to grasp. The ways it was explained to me with wholesaling versus sub 2 or some of the other programs out there.
Okay. So you jumped into wholesaling. Are you still
Yes.
wholesaling now?
I still do it if I run across deals. But I'm not doing it full time. It's funny that I mentioned, I keep going back to full circle because for years, since 2009, when I got a medical consultant, I opened medical clinics, home health, hospice, group homes, assisted living. And the whole time, these last 15 years, I always would get people, it could be investors or other medical professionals that like, hey, I have a home and it's just sitting and I want to turn it into an investment property. Can you turn it into assisted living? And I would do that. I've been doing it for years, but I never say, hey, maybe that's how I could jump into real estate until I started getting into the TTP and getting in real estate. I started telling other investors what I do, and they're like, wait a minute, you license assisted living facilities? I'm like, yes, that's what I do. I've been doing it for the last 15 years. They're like, well, maybe you can show me how to turn my property into to cash flow it, because I'm just sick of renters, you know. So that's how I've kind of merged the two, my medical consulting, but utilizing it to help other investors, do something with their properties.
So all right, let me understand this. You're able to help people turn their, say, rental property or something into a assisted living facility.
Yeah, it can get real technical, but generally is a residential living community.
Really?
What they call it, it's called assisted living, RAL, residential assisted living. It varies. I do this in 19 states. It varies from state to state what they call it. Here in Texas, it's called assisted living facility, or ALF for short. But the that's the license. Now, if you're an investor and you just want to just say put people in there and not necessarily go on the licenses and regulation, here in Texas it's 3 or less. So it just depends how they want to come in. And versus a property maybe cash flowing, or maybe a rental rate of 2,500 or 3,000, for every resident living in there you can charge 3,500 plus per person living in the home.
Okay, you just gave me brand new ideas.
It's
So
been around forever, man. I always tell people when I talk to them, they say, "Oh, the idea of pass split been around forever with
right,
assisted living. It
I
just
never.
wasn't marketed. It's just the system was marketed to seniors. Pass split kind of say, okay, we could just put anybody who need room and board in a home and collect rent."
Oh wow, because I've been holding off on buying. So like, is there qualifications for the house? Is there a type of house it needs, or anything like that?
It actually does. It has to, number one, be a one story.
One story.
Uh, the regulations say it has to be a one story because the people that are in these homes are seniors, and in the event of a fire, they have to be able to get out quickly. So number one, it does have to be a single story. It
Okay.
has to have a front rear entrance, another front door, rear door, exit. And there's
Okay.
other regulations. Maybe there's a ramp that they need ramp accessible, because there's several different levels. So there are actually 3 different levels to the assisted living. And they go for people who just, which is a type A, they just want to live there. Hey, I'm my family. I'm just a person who want to be in a community. I just want to live there. I know how to bathe and feed and dress myself. That's a type A. Type B, these people need assistance with feeding. And then there's the type C, where they need a little more help.
Okay.
Okay.
So then you have to end up hiring nurses and stuff to
You do
attend.
to take care of them. Yeah. The more care that's needed, the higher level of service and more hands on you have to be with the residents living there. Absolutely. But that's why I say personal care. If you want someone who's very like basically, if you take the concept that I see exploding everywhere now because of the baby boomers, the 55 and over communities, these guys are building this community everywhere. If you take that concept and put it in a residential setting, these people are seniors. They just want somewhere to live. They're basically independent, but they don't want to live by themselves. So they'll stay in a home with other seniors. And in those, you can charge anywhere from $7,500 on up, because it's a private bedroom versus 2 people to a bedroom. And basically, you're just like that. The community, you provide meals for them. It could be custom meals. You go out and take day trips, but it's in a residential setting.
All right. So
Yeah.
say someone like me and just an investor, say I come across a property, one story property. I want to do this. I contact you, and then and what else would I
Absolutely.
have?
I've actually had a gentleman that found me through Facebook and contacted me. He owns several properties out in the Austin area, and he says they're just sitting. And he, even put off rehabbing them. So he called me and said, "Hey, what all do I need to include or do to start trying to get residents in this home?" And I just kind of walk you through and tell you I would advise, if I had the way to go, I wouldn't necessarily jump right in under state regulations and get licensed, fully licensed. I would start off as a personal care home, which I think is the best way to go, with just 3 residents or less, to kind of see if you do want to get more residents and follow on the licensure. But I basically, if any investor want to say, hey, does my home even qualify? What are the safety regulations as for the home, what it needs to have? I can share that information for them or show them where to go to get these regs to turn that home.
All right. Now, say I'm an investor. I got the 1 bedroom. I come to you. I just want to do the simple one. I only want to have 3 people in there. Is there going to be other responsibilities I have besides just placing people in the home? Do I have to hire a team to come check them out, or do I have to have anybody else on staff to be doing anything else at that home?
Great question. Great questions. The home has to be run. I always tell them, even though you're not under regulations, you do want to run these homes as if you want a regulation. And so I show you these because you do get neighbors who maybe see individuals coming and going out of the home. And I've had clients even call me and say, hey, the state just walked in on me and I had 5 residents. I need to quickly turn this property into assisted living. So they do monitor that because simply they want to watch out for this community of seniors. But you will have to fall under these guidelines. There's certain restrictions on, as far as taking rent. If they don't pay the rent, there's rules you have to follow of what's the word? Terminating the lease or rental agreement. There's procedures you must take in order to admit them to your personal care home. As far as staffing, it is 24 hours staffing that you need, unless these people, like I said, are very independent. They can come and go as they want. It doesn't have to follow on those regulations, but you do have to make sure that the home is safe, bathrooms are safe. If you are going to be charging them, there's certain things you have to include: meals, 3 meals a day, snacks, ensure that they have transportation provided for them to go run their errands, to like buy personal items. So it is certain things that you will need to do. It's just not like, hey, I imagine like a pass split where, hey, just as long as you pay my money, you just, can come and go as you want.
Right.
It's because the rules are set up with children and seniors to protect them.
Right. So yeah, I'd kind of figure you can't just throw them in there and leave them.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So how long have you been helping people do this now?
It's been since I started this company in 2009, and it was maybe a year after that, 2010, since I started opening these assisted living facilities and helping. Like I said, I never clicked to it when investors would say, and it could just be anyone. Sometimes I just get families who maybe have a second home, and they say, hey, what can I do with my second home? It's just sitting there. I never thought about renting it, but I heard I can like turn it into assisted living facility. And so that's when I started helping people get into that.
All right. Now I see on your Facebook, you do a lot of mentioning of mindset.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and I love that, because I when I got into this, I didn't realize how important mindset was.
Wow. It's so much. I started getting into that a few years ago because I started, when people come to me and they want to do a business, a lot of times I notice even some of the Facebook groups now, when people are trying to get started, like, hey, I completed my logo, or I completed my website, or, I'm doing this and that. And I look and I say, when I became an entrepreneur, I can easily say that getting started is the easy part. But the mental challenges that you go through, and from day to day, to transition yourself from the mindset of an employee to a business owner, that's where the real work begins. And so I started seeing a lot of my clients as I open this business. Like I say, hey, if you want a license, I don't know what it is. It could be a medical clinic. I can do that. But I started noticing some of my clients were overachievers, and then some just seem to be stuck. And their success is my success. And so when I started having conversation with them, I found that it all boiled down to their mindset. And so you can have a person that who can open a business, they do the logo, website, and all that, but it's going to come down to their mindset, and their outlook is going to determine their success. And so I said, hey, I can't just go into this just giving people a license. I now, because they're investing in me to do what I said I'm going to do, but I have to invest in them to give them the tools that's really going to help them. Having a license on your wall or a sign on your office door is not gonna guarantee your success. It's the
No,
mindset.
yeah, and it's I never really believed. I thought, oh, that's you just got to buckle down and do it. Sometimes, but your mind, I never realized how much your mind will mess with you in
Woo.
doing these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So that's why I've really been intentional now with saying, hey, you got to change your mindset. And it's even with me. Like I said, my first entrepreneur experience was back in 2000. Here it is, 2024. And it's still challenges or that mindset, when things just quite aren't going right, to fall back into thinking negative. So it's something that's ongoing, but it gets easier the more you train your mind to do it, right?
Right.
So it's an ongoing thing.
So tell us about some of your. Can you remember some of your early struggles? Can you tell us any stories about your early struggles in business, starting out your first business or second
Oh
business?
man, I can tell you right now, having no money.
Well, yeah,
a
that's the
20-year-old man, I can remember. I remember those days. Let me tell you, when I was with HPD, man, a lot of people think officers make a lot of money. Let me tell you why you think they work those extra jobs, man, 2 and 3 different jobs, man. You don't
y'all
make a
don't
lot
make
of money in
no,
every
y'all don't
2
make
weeks.
squat.
When I was opening my ambulance company, man, I could remember 1 month paying the rent at my apartment on time, and the next month paying the rent at my office that I had to set up for the EMS bill. It took me a year to get it going. I reached out to a lot of my HPD buddies, say, "Hey, you want to go into business with me to open an ambulance business?" And they're like, "Well, I can join you, but during softball season, you can count me out." A lot
Yeah.
of them officers are playing softball, man.
Oh, okay. The
And so
officers.
I say, you know what? I just can't get anyone to help me. I'm just gonna go at it myself. And so that's what I did. I worked and saved for a year. And like I said, man, money was tight. And so I had got so many evictions, man. When I started making those millions of dollars, I wanted to move to a better community. And I remember that the apartments that I was at, they said, hey, or the new community I was moving at, they say, hey, where have you been living? Where you rental history? And so I went back to my apartment complex that I was living at, and I said, hey, the new place, the home that I want to get, they want to see the rental history. And they say, Mr. Ellis, we want to help you, but you have, I forget the number at that time, but there's an exorbitant number of eviction notices. And they're like, I don't think we're the right person to give you a letter of reference. But just so happened, that's what was so cool with being nice to the leasing agents in the office, the girls. And they're like, you know what? I'm gonna get you that letter. I'm gonna get you that letter. And thankfully I was able to, it was funny. I had the money, but couldn't get in there because of like I say, the struggle with income. And so those early things on, man, is not just it's a whole pie. And I say that because as a new business owner, you could be struggling with things financially, mentally, your circle of friends who you're with, because they see now you getting ready to now go to this next level, which they're not prepared to go with you. And so they'll discourage you, you
Yeah, yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
And it could be family, friends. I had that early on. I never forget because I was working nights for HPD from 11 to 7. I'll get off and go work at an ambulance company from 8, and it could be to like 6, 7 at night.
Wow.
Then I remember in between my job, getting ready to go shifts, I stopped by my parents' home and I told my mom and dad, hey, I figured out what I want to do. I want to open an ambulance business. And they're like, okay. well, how much money could you make? And I said, well, I know the guy that I'm working with now, he tells me that he does like 80 plus grand a month. And I never forget my mom we were sitting on the sofa, and she turned and looked at me and she says, who needs to make 80 grand a month? What would you do with all that money? And so, that was the first
Mhm.
people who I ran to tell them about my idea. And it was shot down and it was disheartening. I'm like, what? I'm making like maybe 3 grand a month now or four. And you're wondering what, and at the time, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, I don't know what I would do with 80 grand. But let me tell you, I didn't let it discourage me. I worked hard for a year, generally, really by myself. I had no one to help me. And so I never forget after the business started going, I had family, friends, everybody saying, hey, I want to come help, including my parents, hey, we'll help you, bless them. But it really helped so much, including my parents who like, well, what can you do with that much money? There were situations where they maybe needed assistance, family, friends needed assistance. And so I tell anyone, when you first starting off, you want to be around people who are going to encourage you, who believe in your vision, your dream, and who are going to support you. Because believe me, once you do get successful, they'll be there to applaud you and cheer you on. But when it really counts the most, you need to be around people who's going to really help you. And that's getting with mentors.
Yeah, absolutely agree 100%. Because until I started doing, I always thought I was an entrepreneur when I was younger. I was a musician. I worked for myself,
Mm,
and then I got a first job uh, when I was mid-20s, mid to late 20s, almost 30. I got my first real job
wow.
outside of
Okay.
music, and then I got suckered in, or I lost the comfort of having a regular paycheck, regular things. I got sucked into that and lost my vision.
Mm,
So yeah, I agree 100%. And getting around people and doing this, getting around Power Hour was very important when I first started doing this.
yes. Yes.
The recharge I got from all you people at Power Hour was amazing, and I
Yeah.
loved being around it. We got to get that going again.
We do, man. We do. I really love that community, and it was very helpful
It
being
very
around
helpful.
people because you learn it from each other, and that's what it's about.
Yep.
Yeah,
So tell us about what you got going on now. You got these. You had an event you had to cancel because we had a hurricane. So tell us
that's
about
right.
these events you're doing.
Yeah. So now, man, I've kind of been the person who always like ran the business behind the scenes, and I feel like with everything now, because of the message, and I want to help so many people, that I wanted to start getting into hosting webinars. Because I have clients who, like I told you, who are in 19 different states, and I can only be at one place at one time. And so I started getting into hosting webinars where from anywhere in the country I can go and teach you. Because now uh, I don't want to just be the person who can do it for you. I want to enable people to do it for themselves. And I've always been an advocate of that. If you're with a mentor who want to share just enough with you to where you always have to go after them, find another mentor. And I never wanted to be that person. There are consultants out there who tell you just enough to keep you coming back. And I always had told them, hey, I want to teach you to feed yourself. So that means I'm sharing information with people on how to be successful in their business. If I see one client who's doing over $1 million a year, and I have a client that's struggling and they seem to can't gain traction, I want to share what they're doing to help you success in what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so the way I've been doing that now is hosting webinars and throwing events to speak that message. Because, like I say, it's all about helping people go to that next level. That's what I'm all about, man. When I was young, it was more about the money, and now as I get older, I find the more I'm able to help people, you just can't beat that energy and feeling when you see them achieving success or achieving their dreams. Money can't replace that. And that's been my experience early on, man. It was like, oh yeah, I want the cars, the homes, but my mindset have shifted, and I know the real reward is in helping others.
All right. So since you had to cancel the one event due to the hurricane, you rescheduled it, right? You got it rescheduled?
I got everyone rescheduled, man. That was a rough 2 weeks here in Houston for a lot of people, man. My parents were over a week. I know I was 5 days without power. The phones were acting up, and so I've had to cancel those events for that week. And thankfully, got everyone rebooked. And so this following week, I'll be hosting those webinars again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's the current one. You got any others planned in the pipeline?
I do have some more that are planned in the pipeline that'll be ongoing, and I'll start doing more and more. I'm kind of feeling my way through this. This is something new to me, hosting these
Okay.
webinars, and so I'm having to learn how to do that. And so, yeah, I do have other ones lined up. It's so much to share, but I'm kind of breaking it up in bits and pieces.
All right. So are you
Yeah.
doing in these webinars, are you teaching people how to do this?
I am teaching them. I am teaching them. From the mindset webinars to actually coaching on how to open their own business where they don't need a consultant, they can do it themselves. To also scaling their business through sales of their services.
All right.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, since serial entrepreneur, most of entrepreneurs have books that they really recommend that spark their interest, got them going. Do you have any books you recommend?
Man, one of the absolute books that I love is by Tony Robbins, Awakening the Giant Within.
All right.
I reread that book so many times, and it's always something I want to pick up because let me tell you, that book talks about the mental struggles and that he had when he was starting off in the depression, and why was I created? Everyone has a gift. Every single person has a gift, and if they slow down enough, because now I think there's so much distractions with
Hmm.
media, electronics, and everything that's going on in the world. But if you sit quiet and really discover who you are, your greatness that's inside of you, you will really be amazed. So that's something I started doing with my clients too. I always suggested them because my mentors, I'm fortunate to be surrounded by good mentors now. Now I'm in a lot of mentorships, but they always recommend some mind shift. And so I recommend them to different books. But one of my favorite oldie but goodie, Awakening the Giant Within.
Awesome. Awesome. So when you recommend mentorships, do you recommend any specific ones? What ones did you follow? You mentioned Tony Robbins and Brent Daniels. Do you have any others?
Well, I'm actually involved in some mentorships in real estate. Also, I've been venturing now because I'm start releasing digital products where people can download and get these programs, uh, digital products. So I'm in a mentorship with real estate with some guys, uh, but it depends on what you're in, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's just me. Business, digital marketing, real estate, but it could be whatever. Find the people who you are who you want to emulate. Follow them. And a lot of times, some people say, well, I don't have the funds to get a mentor. Look, you can find a mentor on YouTube. I've heard people say, this person is my mentor, and they don't even know it.
Mhm.
Because now through YouTube, you can follow these people. So until you get the money, stick with the people who are doing the things that you want to do in life, follow their example. And yes, if it does come up to where you have the money to get into that mentor program, join it. I mean, the returns on that can be calculated, and it's something that'll stick with you forever and ever, right? So I would
Mhm.
recommend anyone. I've always heard it, but until I actually started doing it, joining mentorships, it's been the greatest. And I will forever continue doing it because as you grow and want to get in certain rooms, you have to increase and get that knowledge. There are people who are making over $50 million a year who can't get in those, who can't break that ceiling until they start associating with people who making $100 million a year,
Mm-hmm.
to shift their minds to go to the next level. So as you continue to grow, which means you always should be trying to grow and get uncomfortable and be in rooms where you're the dumbest person, that's going to forever be.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who's been the mentor that has stuck out the most to you? Who's really influenced your businesses, and who would you say?
Um, I would say that it's been besides Tony Robbins, the Kiyosaki
Okay.
has. I've had great mentors that are locally. Ricardo Rosales, he's been helpful and share a lot of things with me. Uh, and there are others too that really helped me. But I always look and see what helped them to achieve, and I love to ask them questions about what they did when they felt like that they were just stuck, or felt like that they just wanted to give up, or just not continue to pursue their dreams. And the questions that uh, when I talk with these mentors, not that I get personally mentored by Kiyosaki or Anthony
Right.
Robbins, but I'm talking about my local mentors, and that's always a key point. The things that they share with me, because we're as humans are gonna come to those times where you just feel like, hey, am I really making a difference? And that self doubt that may creep in, and it's during those
Mm-hmm.
times actually when you keep going where there's a breakthrough that takes place to where you excel to that next level. So that's just something that my mentors share with me, that I like to share with other people.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I got to ask you, since you started off, you didn't start off in real estate. You started off doing your own businesses. What
Hmm.
what drew you to real estate? Was it to put the money that you were making and put it into something else, and keep investing more?
Yeah, it was actually whereby I wanted to find something to where I could see my money working for me.
Okay.
So it was more everyone knows that you need to invest in something. I've done investing in the Forex and stocks and so forth. And real estate was one of those things that I hadn't tried, but I know you get great returns on. And when I started to learn more about it, I just loved it. So it's more of a place to see my money work for me, and a way to see a return.
Okay. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your goals and plans going moving forward? You going to keep doing these seminars and helping people out?
Man, I with God's blessings, I will hope my message is able to spread and help as many people as possible. Uh, and I want to continue to see myself grow and learn and surrounded by good people, just helping people pursue their dreams. Every time, if for every business owner that I help get into business for themselves, it's an achievement not only for them but for me. That hey, that's my mission. Funny story, real quick, if we have
Go
time.
for it. Yeah, you have plenty of time.
When my entrepreneur journey, I've always been an entrepreneur ever since I was a kid. I can remember dragging in sixth grade, dragging my uncle's lawnmower all through the neighborhood with a gas can sitting on it, just knocking on doors. Hey, do you want your yard cut? You want your yard cut?
Yep.
So I was doing it even back then, didn't even know it, but I never forget. I was in the 12th grade in woodshop class, and we showed up to woodshop class. All the tools were put up, and it was a gentleman that was in there, and he had the word entrepreneur on the board. And that was the first time I ever heard it. But a bunch of guys coming in the woodshop class and loud and joking, and the teacher is kind of sitting at the desk. We didn't see the normal woodshop teacher, the substitute. So this is like in the 80s, man. I hope I'm not telling my age, but it was in the 80s. And so he said, okay, everybody quiet down. We're not going to be working on wood products today. He said, I want to talk to you about, and this back during the days when rap was just starting out. Adidas was real big, Nike, and OP and all these other name brands, Reebok. And so he started pointing at everybody what they were wearing in these name brands. And he was like, where do you think this come from? We were like, I don't know. Reebok. Yeah, but who's behind Reebok? Who's behind Nike? Who's behind Adidas?
Mm-hmm.
And we never thought of it. And he said, entrepreneur. Somebody came up with this idea and started a business, and you bought into it. And he went through the whole thing, explained entrepreneur. And that day forward, I said, that's what I want to be, an entrepreneur. Because it gave me hope, because my parents already told me that we don't have money for you to go to college. I never forget, they had a guy from a trade school come to our home and talk about different trades that, the trade school offered. Because we just didn't have money. And so I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. College is not an option for me because we don't have the money. And so that word never stuck with me. So when I started my EMS company, first year doing over $1 million, I said, I'm going back to that high school, that same woodshop class, and I'm going to talk to those students about entrepreneurship. And so I went to my same high school, and I went to the admissions office, and I told the lady in admissions, I said, I want to talk to the woodshop teacher here. She says, woodshop? She's like, we don't offer woodshop. And I said, well, then I remember a welding class that was next door. I said, well, I want to talk to the welding instructor. They said, we don't have welding instructor. Well, I was in a business class. I said, well, can I talk to the business education teacher? We don't offer business classes. I was like, wow. I was like, so those programs just went away. They don't even offer anymore. I said, well, let me talk to the senior class. Who's over this? All the senior teachers. So they arranged it where I talked to the seniors. And so what I started doing was every once a month, I would go in and they would put all these seniors in a room, and I would talk to them about entrepreneurship. And that was my thing that I would do. And I did it for several school years, mainly in the inner city around Houston, low income areas, where I would talk to these kids, because the story was a lot of them couldn't afford to go to college. And so I wanted to talk with them, let them know and give them hope that there's more things in life that they can do. And so that was my mission, man, to do that. And so I was real big. And even my clients now, when they get into business, they're always like, how can I make money? How can I do this? I said, look, what you want to do is become involved in your local community, wherever you're at. Because if you're out there rolling up your sleeves and going in there seeing what you can do for others, they're going to take notice and say, what do you do? What kind of business are you in? And then you brand your business. But don't go in there with pads, pens, and cookies before you've even done anything and say, hey, can you give me business? So that's been my motto to new business. On to roll your sleeves up, get involved in your community.
That's excellent, because you can't. I mean, most people are takers, so they just looking to get and take whatever they can.
Absolutely.
Then it really does. Those that help others, I see them growing quicker.
Absolutely.
They get more strength. They get more. But you're out there. You're not out there just for yourself, and that's the point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When we're out there just for ourselves, it's a selfish thing, and we tend to miss. I think that we miss and close our sight to a whole lot of stuff.
Absolutely. Man. And that's something I think that a lot of people don't focus on. That, of course, you want a business to make money, but the whole objective is, if you look at the most companies, the Apples, they're in the solution business to make our lives easier through their products. If they had intentions of just, hey, let me just develop something to make money, but not necessarily solve a problem, I don't think they would be big as they are.
I don't think so either. And it's like every product out there has been pretty much made, almost. I can't say everyone, but most of them are made to say, hey, make someone's life easier in some way, make something a little bit better some way, to help somebody out in some way. So
absolutely.
So,
agree.
limiting mindset. How did you overcome it? What were your practices to overcome your limiting mindset, or what did you do to get past any kind of limiting thoughts you had coming in your head?
That's a good question. And how did I get over?
How did you get over and get past?
Well, I laugh at that, Todd, because you say, how do I get over it? Let me tell you something. How am I getting over it? Okay. Because if we're constantly growing, that means you're constantly getting uncomfortable, which constantly brings into your mind doubt and fear. Okay. They have some people who maybe are, and I keep bringing this up, maybe making $50 million a year, and you're like, wow. But believe me, if they're trying to get to that next level, there's some doubt, not necessarily fear, because they wouldn't have got to that point, but we're going to be doubt. And so it's something you're constantly working over. And, how did I go from, doing that $3,000 a month salary to what I'm doing now? I've had to overcome some things, some doubts. And even now that I'm stepping into this new arena and having to learn how to conduct webinars, learn how to teach people to be sales, learn how to mentor people, there's some doubts. They're like, okay, why would people come to a Errol Ellis versus just turning on a YouTube, listening to an Anthony Robbins? Well, people are attracted to what they're attracted to, right? And so I have to overcome that mindset, knowing that, hey, I'm looking to reach and touch people who maybe Tony Robbins, nothing against him, great guy, who maybe he hasn't touched or they haven't discovered him yet. And so I think it's an ongoing thing, especially if you're growing. Now, if you're comfortable, then you're not going to have any doubts because you're confident in yourself, right?
Right.
There's no confidence. They have people waking up every day and they have no doubts, they have no fears because they're not subjecting themselves to that, right? But people who are constantly growing and they feel like, hey, I'm the dumbest person in this mentorship. I'm listening to these guys answer and talk and the way they speak. I could never be like that. So there's some doubt, right? So it's something that I'm constantly working on. I thank God that I've got to the level I'm at, but I want to go more. I want to do I eventually want to do a podcast. So I'll be saying, hey, Todd, tell me how to get over this fear, man. I don't know what I'm doing, right?
No problem. I'll be
So
there to help you.
even as I was, going through the motions of just trying to join it, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. He has this podcast. It's something eventually I want to do, but there's doubt, right? Can I really do it?
Absolutely.
So, the doubt is going to be there, but the thing is, don't let it freeze you up to the point you don't do anything. Okay. So it's something I'm constantly working on, man.
Yeah. You still got to take action, even with doubt. When you're in doubt, just do something. It doesn't
Do
even matter.
something.
It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
making mistakes, making problems. Hey, that's the other thing I had to train my mind is mistakes and problems are learning situations, and to get over the hardness of it. It shouldn't be hard. It's just a learning situation. So
That's it.
Look for my lesson.
That's right. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
So, and I love it that, it's an ongoing thing,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
after this one, what's your next event going to be? What's this event? What's this event you're doing right now geared towards?
This next week is going to be an event. I work with a lot of home healthcare agencies. You've probably seen a lot of memory care centers popping up, Alzheimer's. They've been real good with advocating it. It's coming to the forefront of patients. This is something that's been one of our family members that are going through right now, Alzheimer's dementia. So I'm hosting a webinar on how home healthcare agencies can start getting into helping families who a family member may suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia. So that'll be a webinar this week.
All right. Now I'm going to get back to Paces and others in the community. When you're starting out too, you have to have a well-defined why. Why am I doing this? Why am I going to put myself through all this to start a business, to move forward? What was your why when you started, and how has it changed since you've grown and progressed?
My why back then, man, was the Lamborghini, the $1 million home.
Yeah, all our young guys.
As many
dream.
cars I got fit in my garage, you know. And as I've gotten older, as I told you, it has shifted to the satisfaction. My why is there's so many people who were like me that back then, man, I'm gonna tell you how long ago. I can remember going through the yellow pages. It was A through L and then M through Z, trying to figure out what can I do in business. It was just like anything. But now it's about helping people reach their dreams. That's where the satisfaction come from. I don't think about the money. I didn't say, hey, I want to start getting into webinars because I want to start making money. It was because how can I reach as many people as possible? I truly believe that we're here to help others. There's a reason why we get more satisfaction in doing for others than for ourselves. It's a reason. And I think that reason is because it will cause us to help more and more people. You can never get this. The most depressing thing for me when I became 30 years old and I became so dissatisfied that once I started making $1 million a year, I felt so that was actually during a period of my time, man, where I had the most stress and anxiety because I had so many people dependent on me, family members, friends, patients. I had to, meet with doctors. That was the most stressful, yet the time when I was doing the most money I've ever made. So
Mhm.
it doesn't come from money or what you possess.
There you
It's
go.
from helping others, which requires no money. No
Exactly.
money. It's free. You literally today, as we get off of here, can go and do something good for someone. And I guarantee you, you're gonna feel so good, and it'll bring a smile to your face.
Well, that's the
Uh,
thing. I see the most successful in business, the ones that are most successful aren't the ones out for themselves. They're out there
Absolutely.
helping. They're really out there making a difference, like Pace with his community, like, Brent
Yes.
Daniels and them. They're making a difference. They're helping other people do it. They're not just I don't believe that most people are just especially in this, they're just focused on the money. I mean,
No.
granted, when we first start, yes, we
Yeah.
all tend to like, oh, I see that dollar sign, I see the like you said, the house, the Lamborghini,
Yeah.
the guy or girl, I'm gonna have all this. And then
Yeah.
then once you get started, like you said you were making a whole lot and there was not a happiness. You had what you wanted, but you weren't fulfilled. So there
Absolutely.
has to be something else. And so, you know, I always, it's helping others too. Yeah, I have to get more into that. I don't feel I'm very good at helping others because I don't know what the hell I'm doing yet. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll try. I try to lead them I just try to lead people in the right direction. Hey, I don't know the answer, but hey, go to Errol, go to Jeff, go to, George, call
Hmm.
them up. I don't
Hmm.
know. I'll
Yeah.
tell you.
That's
I'll
hoping. That's
tell you I don't know.
hoping. That's
So,
hoping, brother.
all right, that's definitely. But yeah, we ought to start going. We're getting close to being done here in a few minutes. But what else? What else you got? What's going on? What do you want to tell people?
Well, I would want to tell people, man, that follow your passion. And if you don't know, I have people tell me, well, I don't know what my passion is. Take time to just reflect and look within yourself because it's there. It's in all of us.
Hmm.
And whatever is bringing you joy, do more of it. Okay. But follow your passion. Always stay curious, wanting to learn and be like a child. I have a 6-year old man, and I see
Hmm.
we as adults, as we get older, our curiosity kind of leaves, but he questions everything. It would be something so obscure that I would never notice, and he asks a question about. So I would say, keep your eyes wide open, be curious, ask questions. If you don't know the answers, get with someone who can help you. That's would be my suggestion.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you too. How do you, with doing all this stuff that you're doing, how do you balance your time and energy? How do you, recharge when you need to recharge?
um Working out. I've learned as I gotten older, man, that actually is a working out. You would think you would be tired, but it actually gives you that energy that you need. uh
Exactly.
when I say I want to relax, reading a good book is so relaxing to me, meditating. but I'm a thinker too. So sometimes I'm always constantly thinking of something new that I can venture into that's going to help me grow. But that's very relaxing with me. But yes, there's balance. The time where I have a 6-year old, he's involved in sports. I have to account for that. Actually, my calendar, like, oh, I can't sit a meeting during this time because we're at practice during this time. It does takes balance. And that's something else I've learned through the real estate investing. I became more in tune on how those guys keep up with those different projects, developing CRMs, developing a system. Man, that's a key word. Developing a system. So that's how I try to stay on track, man. I have phones going off as I'm on my laptop, messages popping up. You need to be here and doing this. Developing a system is how I do it, man. Balance.
Balance. Exactly. So, I mean, you got to develop a system with all you say going on. How do you keep track of it all if you don't have a system?
Exactly.
And it can become very something like when you didn't have a system, did it become very overwhelming when all this was happening?
It was, man, because you like to think you're young as you think you are. And you're like, oh, I can remember that. I can remember that, and it doesn't work, man.
Do you do time blocking or anything like that?
I have to. And it changes on a weekly basis. I go into my calendar and I'll block off certain times as the events may progress through the week that I need to block off that time. But I always set time to learn and read. You can't just go and go and go like some of these YouTube saying, oh, I'm work 24/7 and I'm this and I'm that. You have to have time where you decompress, you gather your thoughts, and that really helps you more versus just going and going and going because you're able to do a reset. And so I've learned to do that. But yes, there is time blocking for learning. You can't just go and go and not continue to learn.
Right.
I attribute my learning and willingness to learn because I'm a reader. I love to read. I can read some of the most mundane medical codes and I love it.
All right. So are you married? You have a son, right?
I'm in a relationship. Yes.
Okay. So how are you?
Yeah.
I mean, relationship. That's what I was getting to, though. Is
Yeah.
I'm balancing that too. How do you give them time? Do they get angry with you at times? Because like, hey, man, you're always too busy. Do you make time for them?
Well, fortunately, she's in real estate, so she's always at her desk doing deals, and man, she's slamming it in real estate. So that helps. I've been in a situation where it's like you're working too much, but hey, when you're with someone who's in business for themselves and they're doing deals, it's great. But I think we run into more of the situations like, okay, let's shut it off and let's have a date. Let's go somewhere, do something for ourselves. And that I think that when you have two entrepreneurs in the family or the relationship, that becomes more the thing. When can we cut it off where we can spend time together?
Right. So you'll have to definitely get that on your time blocking too. Time block dates.
Absolutely.
Pace says he does that. So he has one like every week, and I think that's great. I think it's important.
It is. It is.
I'm not. Yeah, I didn't have good relationships, but then I never pursued anything like that. It was always I had selfish intentions. I think with a lot of things when I was younger. I think we all do.
We all did. Yep.
Right. So, how do people find you, get a hold of you, and request information about the businesses you can help them start?
Yeah, you can find me, of course, through Facebook, Instagram, the Errol Ellis on Instagram. It would be the best way to reach me.
Okay. And do you have a Facebook too? You're on Facebook, Instagram?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me as well.
And you're thinking about a podcast. Are you thinking about doing a podcast yourself?
I am, man, because in those webinars, I've been finding I've been meeting other healthcare professionals who've become very successful in their business. And I think I need to place them in front of new business owners so they can hear their stories. I had one client ask me, hey, I had a friend that showed me that they make over $1 million a year. Can I really make $1 million in this business? So I like putting them in front of people who, like I said, are doing things that they want to do. And the best way that I can see doing it is by, hosting a podcast with these successful people.
All right. Any way I can help you out in that, you let me know. I'm willing to help you 100%.
Thank you.
No problem. And I thank you for your time and coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. I know you're busy.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked me to be a part of something great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, absolutely. And please keep me informed of all the events you got going on. Are you a member of the group? If you're a member of the group, I ask you to post your events in our group all the time. Put them in
Yes,
there.
I am a member. I'm a
Cool. Let us
member.
know what's going on because we'll get more people there and we'll start helping more people learn and grow.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Errol, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on. He's an action taker, definitely an action taker, and I always like seeing him, man. He's one that I get energy from the power hour. You were one. It was always good to see you. So we
Thank
got
you.
to get those things going again. Tell
How's your
George.
son doing? You remind me asking, man, he will always
Oh
be
yeah.
killing it. Oh man, he's doing great.
Yeah, he is doing good. He was doing good. He did that. He got motivated because Andrew gave him 100. Told him if you make so many calls and talk to so many people, you get $100. So he came back the next weekend and he didn't offer that. So then he got scared and he's like, "Well, if I'm not making $100, I'm not going to go." So he still just sees his money. The eyes on the money. So right
Hey
now,
man, we did when we were that young. You
well,
mentioned,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what gets our attention.
Yep.
But anyway, man, I appreciate you being on. It was a great
Thank you.
conversation. And if you need anything from me, give me a shout. And Errol Ellis, people, thank you for go check out his YouTube. No, you don't have a YouTube yet, do you?
No YouTube yet.
All right, we're
No.
gonna have to help you get started on a YouTube channel, and then
Yep.
go check out his Facebook, Instagram, and that's where you can find him for his stuff.
Awesome.
All right, man, I'm gonna end it. You have a good evening. Don't leave yet. I gotta keep you on here, so don't leave after I end it.
Okay.